Hello, comrade.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much, again.
Okay, I think we can hear you clearly. Okay, we are good to go. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to welcome you once again, this time with the 31st edition of our monthly regular interactive session inside the arena. And today, inside the arena is a very distinguished Nigerian, a man who has enshrined his name in the annals of the engineering history and has achieved a lot of things as far as the engineering profession is concerned, as far as his life is concerned. He's a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, a fellow of the Academy of Engineering, and a recipient of the National Honor of Officer of the Order of the Niger. He was a rector, a former rector. He was a rector, Federal Polytechnic, Kaduna, and also served as his recent appointment was as a National Commissioner of INEC. I don't want to touch all of that. By the time we go into his life and time as an engineer, as a distinguished Nigerian, you will know more of him. It's my pleasure to welcome inside the arena Engineer Dr. Muhammad NURU YAKUBU, FNSE, FAEng, OON. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Ben. My distinguished colleagues, pleasure to have this opportunity to interact with you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I still remain your host, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko. That is my name. And I want to welcome all our participants today. And I assure you today is going to be a wonderful one. But before we commence, let me quickly take us through the rules again. We have 3 segments of this program. The first is what we call the direct free kick, where the questions are going to be directed to the guest, and he will respond to the questions. And after that, we go to the corner kick, where the participants will have the opportunity to ask questions. And after that, we'll now go to the final lap of the program, and that is what we call the extra time. It's a time also to put the participants on the hot seat. We are going to be asking you questions about the guests, and 2 lucky winners are going to be going home with 2 fantastic prizes today. One is, they are heavy, I can't lift them up. One is a Hisense microwave oven, and the other one is a standing fan, Lonto standing fan, 2 quality products. And I want to first of all commend the sponsors of these beautiful prizes. Let me begin by thanking Engineer Ali Masuya Rabiu, immediate past president of the Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria. And of course, another distinguished Nigerian engineer who is a serving vice president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, very distinguished Engineer Bemigo Ofeeno. 2 of them are the sponsors of these prizes. We say a very big thank you to you. Interestingly, Engineer A.A. Rabiu was the very first person that opened the studios of this arena. And he was the first to be on the hot seat. And today, by the special grace of God, we are having season 31, and it will continue. Thank you very much. And once again, welcome to Inside the Arena, season 31. You're welcome, sir. Yeah, you are still looking young, the same face, the same. I know This was the way we are looking, only that we have added some white beards. When I met you first in 2012 in Brazil, this was exactly the way you were looking. Good to see you. And once again, thank you for your wonderful works and contribution to the development of the country. For those who are just joining us, who don't know who is Engineer Muhammad NURU YAKUBU, can you, in a nutshell, tell us who you are, your birth, your education, and just some few things about you?
Okay. Thank you very much, Ben. I will say that never judge people by their looks. Looks can be very deceptive, you know. Well, my name, as has been said, is Muhammad NURU YAKUBU. I hail from Unguru in present-day Yobe State. I was born some 67 years ago. After my primary education at Unguru, I was lucky to be admitted to the then government secondary school in Maiduguri, now government college. From there, I had a very wonderful time. In my final year, actually, I was the head boy in that school. I was opportune to also go to the School of Basic Studies. In 1975, I finished 76, and I was among the very few people who were selected from the School of Basic Studies to go and study mining engineering in the UK. I went to the Camborne School of Mines, world-renowned mining institution. I came back, did my service, and went back for further studies. I had already by that time really made up my mind to go into academia. So it was very necessary for me to immediately go back for my master's degree. I was lucky to be admitted to the Imperial College. They have a School of Mines there, and I was there. I did my master's in mineral process design. My first degree was in mineral processing technology. My master's in mineral process design. On my return, I joined the then Federal University of Technology, Bauchi, in 1982 as an assistant lecturer. At the end of that year, I went back to the Imperial College for my PhD. I did a PhD again in mineral technology and specializing in processing of uranium. And I came back to Bauchi and continued with my academic career until 1990, when I rose to become a senior lecturer. It was that year that I was offered the job of being the pioneer director, College of Engineering in Kaduna Polytechnic. Kaduna Polytechnic didn't have a College of Engineering until 1990, when the then College of Science and Technology was split into two. So I was appointed the pioneer director, substantive director of the college. As you know, Kaduna Polytechnic runs a colleges system. So as a director, there was quite a lot of leverage, both academic and administrative. If you like, it was like a very small polytechnic on its own. I progressed through the polytechnic. I held the position of the Deputy Rector of Administration concurrently with the Director of the College of Engineering until 1996, when there was a vacancy for the position of the Rector. So I applied and I was lucky. I was selected at the end of a very vigorous and
okay, let me stop it there. We are going to go to the other phase of your life. Let's stay within the academic world.
Right.
Number one, why did you opt for a lecturing job?
Actually, I think it was very simple for me, really. I did my National Youth Service in Kaduna Polytechnic in the Department of Mining Engineering, and I was teaching. And so my first, if you like, touch with the world of work was really teaching. That was one. But the other thing, in those days, I did my NYC 7980. I finished 1981. Then you will be surprised to find that in those days, employment was really almost there for the taking. I had 5 job offers. I went to 5 interviews, and each place I went to, they offered me a job. And you can imagine a young man at that time, so I had to really seriously think. I had a job offer in Kaduna Polytechnic, naturally, because that's where I did my NYSC. Ahmadu Bello University offered me a graduate assistantship there. Kaduna Polytechnic offered me as assistant lecturer. Nigerian Mining Corporation offered me a job at an enhanced. There was also a private mining company in Jos called, I can't remember the name immediately now, but I think it's ATMN, Amalgamated Tin Mines of Nigeria. They offered me a job. NNPC offered me a job as well. So, so I just decided, look, I wanted to go back really to do further studies. So I got married and went back to UK.
Okay, now talking about the UK, at the time you graduated from your first degree, you came back to Nigeria to serve and then went back to UK to further your education. After that, you came back to Nigeria. Since you came back to Nigeria, do you have any regret returning to Nigeria to start your practice here?
Not at all. In fact, Ben, I will tell you a story how after my master's, I went and took up an appointment with, as I said, the then Federal University of Technology in Bauchi, now Abubakar Tafawa University. The Vice Chancellor, late, as we all know him, late Professor Engineer Professor, oh my goodness. At 67, this memory thing is beginning, it is real, late Professor Adekola, of blessed memory, professor of civil engineering in the University of Lagos. He was the pioneer vice chancellor of the University of Technology in Bauchi. So when I took the appointment as an assistant lecturer, I already had a master's degree, so not a graduate assistant. I went to his office to introduce myself. And he looked at me, he called me with my first name. He said, "NURU, when are you going back for your PhD?" I was taken aback, to be honest. Then I had to very quickly do some thinking. I said, "Sir, I really don't know much about my country. I didn't, during my very formative years as an undergraduate, I was in the UK. I came back after service, I went back. I wanted to work for a little bit before I went back. And then he now said, you must go back before the end of the year." And that's how it started. So by October 1982, I was already back in the UK doing my PhD.
If it was now,
no, I should add something.
Would you have returned back?
I should ask something. I'd never had opportunity to ask late Professor Adekola, but I have a feeling that when he saw that I was his alma mater, because he also went to Imperial College.
Oh.
I think that was really the reason why he really took a lot of interest in my progress, in my academic progress. And so it's, if you like, it's like the alma mater thing. You know, he knows the institution, and he was very keen to have me go back and do a PhD.
Okay. Now, coming to Kaduna Polytechnic, you were the rector from 1996 to 2000.
Yes.
Can you, share with us some of the landmark achievements you recorded as the rector of Kaduna Polytechnic?
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ben. I would say that, to be honest, when I joined Kaduna Polytechnic in 1990, many people, particularly from my former place, the university, the Federal University of Technology, Bauchi, at that time, it had already gone back to Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University. People were really asking, what is the problem? You know, because the prospects at the university were very good. I was literally among the pioneer staff of the university. I was already a representative. I had been elected by the congregation to represent them on the governing council, which was a very powerful, because as the congregational representative, you automatically belong to some committees, including the Finance and General Purposes Committee of the university. So Kaduna Polytechnic was in a very, very, very difficult situation. There was a lot of tension, all manner of things going on. But really, the rector then, Engineer Professor Eti Abdullahi, had been our colleague in Bauchi. So really, it's on invitation. I was reluctant when I was appointed. The then Vice Chancellor, Professor Bajoga, did everything he could to really deter me from going. So I went, and it was very challenging. But honestly, the key thing that I found, the main reason, was the opportunity to be the pioneer substantive director of the college. So one of the landmark achievements, I would say, was that we founded the College of Engineering, which was split at that time, or rather comprised of two schools of natural engineering and School of Industrial Engineering. With the departments in industrial engineering, you had departments electrical, mechanical, civil. In natural resources engineering, you had mining, agriculture, and others. And as the director, as I said, being a collegiate kind of structure, you are literally, a small rector. And you had your academic boards, you had deans working under you, heads of departments, and so many other things, really. So those were the challenges. These are some of the achievements. But the appointment as the deputy rector administration of the Polytechnic, that was one that really gave me opportunity to really do something at the Polytechnic level, apart from the college. And that included really stabilizing the student situation. There was a lot of those that know a little bit about the history of Kaduna Polytechnic, they know that at that time there was a lot of tension with some of the students that were sympathetic to the Zakzaki movement, and they had their own opponents, and so working through the system. As my initial appointment was the chairman of the Student Disciplinary Committee. So that provided an opportunity to really interact and get to know firsthand what were the challenges. Now, by the time I was appointed rector, really one had gained so much experience in terms of stabilizing the institution. I had what I call, even in my days as a deputy rector, what I call T minus. And that was a countdown, because anybody who has done administration at tertiary level, you know that when the exams period approached, that was the most difficult period. So I came up with my T minus. T minus the number of days to the exam, and you had to make sure that you didn't give students any excuse to to disrupt the session. Fortunately, for the 4-year period that I was the rector, we never really had any serious security situation in Kaduna Polytechnic.
All right. Your tenure as rector ended in the year 2000. Yeah. The same year, you were appointed as the executive secretary of the National Board for Technical Education, a position you held for 10 years, 2 tenures. Can you also give us some insights about your stay or sojourn in MBT?
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, let me say something in public now that I've never really said in terms of how I went to the MBTE. And the lesson I want my colleagues to draw really is why the country now we are where we are, because of so many things that had happened. The position was not advertised. I never lobbied for that position. What happened was, I was in Arewa House, actually, doing some workshop. And what came in, the Minister of State then, the Minister of Education was Professor Tunde Adeniran. Minister of State Education was Malam Lol Batagara. These people are still alive. But I will tell you the story for the first time in public. I received message that the Minister of State was looking for me, that I should go back and to my office and call him. I was organizing a workshop in Arewa House at that time, and somebody from my office came, and he looked quite disturbed. And I said, "What was this?" He said, "There was an urgent call from the Minister of State that you should call him back immediately." So it was during the time of this, I think the beginning of the mobile phone, this 090 thing. So I called from Arewa House, and the minister picked, and I greeted him, and he asked where I was. I said I was in Arewa House, and I was organizing a workshop. That's why, but I learned that you said I should go back to the office and call. The next thing I heard was the ministry has decided to appoint you executive secretary of MBTE. No prior consultation, no nothing. I never asked for it. I never lobbied anybody. And I felt, well, there were other people who were even more qualified. So anyway, this is the minister. My tenure was coming to an end. If I said no, maybe they may not even renew me as a rector. So, and I expressed a bit of concern and so on, but that was it. Nowadays, these kind of things don't seem to happen.
That's where I was going.
and this is where the country, to me, I don't know how, but apparently what happened was a group met, they consulted with stakeholders and so on, and just they decided that a vacancy had arisen and they wanted me to go there. That's what happened.
Wow. Now, because the question I wanted to ask you, you have touched it, that this happened in this country. where appointments
during
were
politics,
strictly based on
yeah,
merit,
2000,
putting
yeah,
a square
2000.
peg in a square hole. So
Yes.
what went wrong? Or what has gone wrong?
Where?
In the system
Well,
that
this is exactly.
it's no longer
I
the
understand
case.
you. I understand you now. The problem now is that, appointments have turned something else. Both the people look, to be appointed and those to do the appointment, you have to go through intensive lobbying. And personally, by my training, upbringing, culture, religion, if somebody comes desperately looking for a position, if I were the one to do the appointment, I will think more than twice before giving them that appointment. The reason was that when I now went to MBT as executive secretary, the way I went gave me the opportunity to really just purely dedicate myself for my work and do what, or did what, in my view, in my heart of hearts, was the correct thing throughout the tenure. I give you an example. We did a major recruitment of staff in year 2003. And I fought actually the entire system, including the board, the governing board. I said, look, NBT is a regulator. A regulator must be a step at least higher than the bodies that it is regulating. So when you are doing recruitment, you must look for the best. Not to ask people to give you names. No, you advertise. We advertise. We said minimum requirement before you would even be shortlisted. You must have an upper second class in your area. That raised all kinds of problems for me, but I stuck to my guns, and I'm so happy that today that these people that we recruited through this process are now at the helm of affairs at the board.
Now, talking about MBTE, the vision of MBTE is to be a world-class regulatory body for the promotion of technical and vocational education and training in Nigeria, with the mission to promote the production of skills or skilled technical and professional manpower for development and sustenance of the national economy. Now, just recently, most of the presidents we have produced in the Nigerian Society of Engineers had this in their inaugural speech, how they will promote vocational education. We have a big challenge in the country where we are gradually losing that skilled manpower. In fact, in the engineering family, many of us are lamenting about that the pyramid is becoming inverted. Now we have many engineers at the apex, rather than having many skilled workers. If you have a construction work, go to site, you can't find skilled workers. Is MBTE meeting up with its mandate?
Yeah, well, the problem actually goes beyond the MBTE. As you're aware, I recently made a presentation at the public forum organized by the Academy of Engineering. And using existing data registration from Koren. And I want to share some of these statistics really with members at this meeting. And it is shocking. This is actually based on the situation, based on the personnel in the register of Koren. On the register of, there are, as at February this year, 74,764 registered engineers. 74,764. There were, in terms of technologists and technicians, I combine them together. That is people with HND that are registered, and those with ND and similar other qualifications. 9,728. Are you with me, engineer?
Okay.
74,000 plus registered engineers, less than 10,000 technicians and technologists combined. Now listen to the biggest disaster. There were only 3,219 craft persons. And as you're probably aware, the International Labour Organization says for a balanced engineering industry in any country that wishes to develop industrially, the ratio between professional engineers to technicians to craft persons is 1 to 5 to 25, meaning that for every single engineer in Nigeria, there should be at least 5 technicians. And for every engineer, there should be at least 25 craft persons. Now, I did some calculation. I said, okay, based on the current number of engineers on the current register of 74,764, the shortages I worked out based on this ILO ratio, as at now, we ought to have within the country, and the best way to know, the best measure really are the registered technicians. We have a shortfall of 364,000 technicians based on the current number of engineers on the register of Koren. Based on the same number, we have a shortage of 1.865 million craft persons. Nearly 2 million. Now,
so which way to go?
Statistics don't lie. We can continue to lie to ourselves that everything is okay, but it is not okay. And you can see that the consequences of all these things. Today, if you are looking for, the basic problem I have, for example, at home, the most critical one is plumbing. I don't know about you. I don't know about, our colleagues here. Do you get good plumbers? I don't. We don't have them. We can't produce them. You build a house, people who will finish your house, POP, and so on, they are from our neighboring countries, particularly the Francophone countries, because they have a system in place where they're able to produce more and highly trained craftspersons and technicians than we have. So the crisis that we have, the challenge of engineers, unless we want to belong to the group that Einstein was quoted to have said, those that continue to do the same thing over and over again and thinking that they will get a different outcome, which he said that's the typical definition of madness. So unless
from your background and your experience, your 10 years in MBTE.
Yes.
What immediate solution can be profiled for this problem?
Thank you very much. Thank you. I really love this question, to be honest, because really, to me, I think there are 2 major things that need to be addressed within the technical and vocational education sector for us to begin to do something. And for us, so long we continue to defer these measures, there will be problem. We all know that technical and vocational education has very low societal estimation. There is low esteem. Several measures have you know, not very serious. We've made efforts. Today, if I were to, you know, if you were to get the total enrollment figures in technical colleges, it is exactly, in fact, it's even more disastrous than the inverted cone of engineers, technicians, and craftspersons. For all practical purposes, you can say that technical colleges that are supposed to produce technicians for us, they don't exist. Where they exist, they are just caricature of what a technical college should be. We don't take our children there. I wonder if there is anybody on this platform whose child is in a technical college. Please educate us, let us know. This is the problem. We have abandoned, we want to have more technicians. We don't want to put our children, because our children are not there. The schools are neglected. They don't have teachers. They don't have instructors. They don't have facilities. They have nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, even in the Ministry of Education, some of the technical colleges, they converted them to what they call Federal Technical and Science Colleges, which is a fudge. You are replacing the technical colleges and making them just Unity College. Because the majority of enrollment will still be in science, but not really technical areas. We don't even have the teachers. So the solution, our solution is, first, we must address the issue of the low esteem of TVET generally. And from my wide consultations, look, even the polytechnic sector itself now, if you were to get the latest admission figures or even applications from JAM, that it will tell you another story. The last time I did analysis in 2018, 2019, whereas the total number of admissions enrollment in universities was about 1.8, 1.9 million, the entire polytechnic sector was just 350 or 360,000. And don't forget, this problem had been seen way back in 1990, because in 1990, the federal government set up what came to be the Gray-Longe Commission report. And that report and the white paper recommended that for Nigeria, in 1990, by year 2000, in terms of enrollment, there should be complete reversal if you really want something to happen. Avoid all these serious youth unemployment problems we have with the attendant insecurity and all that. That for every person admitted in the university system, there should be 10 in the polytechnics and colleges of education. I had the real privilege to serve on the implementation committee of that commission report. I was a member by accident. And a lone member, for that matter. College of Education also had one representative. The chairman, late Professor Akinkube of blessed memory, and many other members on the implementation committee on the Great Longe Commission report were from the universities. I myself, I was from the university, but I had the opportunity to cross over to see the crisis. We did all we could to try and get this. In fact, the culmination of, if you like, the disaster for me was because it was that implementation committee that brought about Education Tax Fund, ETF, at that time. It was our committee that drafted the law that gave birth to the Education Tax Fund in 1993. The greatest problem we had was that, okay, the distribution of the collection from TED Fund, the committee, the majority insisted it should be in the ratio of 2 to 1 to 1. 2 for universities, 1 for polytechnics, 1 for colleges of education. And we argued that if the commission says you should reverse enrollment, then it means you need to put more money into the polytechnics and also in the college of education, because you have to have the teachers. Now, unfortunately, anyway, the rest of it is history. 211 was approved, and you can see that, like I said, we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. Cannot happen. Can't happen. So the solution, you have to do something to attract people to TVET. TVET has 2 components. There's the tertiary, which is really at the polytechnics, at the national diploma level and the higher national diploma level. And then at the lower level, the technical college or the craft level. For the polytechnics, my personal view is that in order to eliminate all this dichotomy, cul-de-sac syndrome, lack of attraction, disenchantment, particularly among HND holders, you need to allow polytechnics to award the Bachelor of Technology degree. If you do that, you remove this perception, but not even perception, it's real actually, of the discrimination. But you now insist that before you can do the Bachelor of Technology degree in a polytechnic, you must have the national diploma first. Let me tell you one study that we did. We analyzed the performance of some students from a polytechnic that was proximate to a Federal University of Technology for a number of years. And we discovered that the holders of the national diploma that went to their university to do engineering and science were the ones that were getting first class and upper second class. So you can do the same thing in the polytechnics. Allow the polytechnics to award the Bachelor of Technology degree, but through the route of the national diploma. People say, okay, this will derail the polytechnic. No. How did the polytechnic system, who invented the polytechnic? It was Great Britain. It was United Kingdom. Why did they do it? After the Second World War, during following the Industrial Revolution, they needed to massify tertiary education. Universities were not producing enough. So they opened tertiary education by lowering the qualification, especially the entry qualification, so that the masses can move into tertiary education. They produce enough. And as we speak now, since 1992, Ben, I'm telling you, there is no polytechnic in the United Kingdom again. They all converted them to universities. they had served the purpose. For me, our polytechnics, we're not UK. We don't have the same industrial base, but our polytechnics have matured. I was in Kaduna Polytechnic. I can tell you that there was a state university that was established. For the takeover of that state university, 70% of the staff that manned and taught in that state university were staff of Kaduna Polytechnic. Staff of Kaduna Polytechnic. So allow our polytechnics change the law, award BTech after national diploma. People ask what happens to the HND. There are two extremes. To me, the middle of the way, allow nature take its course. If a polytechnic wants to run the HND and they are able to get the students while they are offering the Bachelor of Technology, so be it. That is one way. Secondly, those that already have the higher national diploma, you must remove all kinds of barrier. You see, I'm sorry to say this. As you know, I have been opportune to serve on the council. I was the vice president of Quorum for 3 years, while I was the executive secretary of MBT. So I was able to have this mix of the two sides. I know for a fact that in the accountancy profession, whether you have BSc accounting, whether you have HND accounting, they will allow you to sit the professional exam. If you pass, you are a chartered accountant. Now, some people may not like what I'm going to say. And I keep asking the question, why can't the engineering profession do the same? NSC, for example, why don't you allow HND holders in engineering to sit for the exam? If they pass, fine. If they don't pass, fine. What is wrong with that? What's the problem? I still want answers. But anyway, that's for another day. So that is my, then the second aspect is what MBT is actually doing now. They have, we have, since during my time, I've been talking about the National Skills Qualification Framework, NSQF. Now, I am so happy to observe that the National Board for Technical Education is now leading the effort to entrench. And for information of our colleagues, NSQF has been accepted by government. It is going into the federal scheme of service. It is purely competency-based on the job. It is not enough to go to an institution, polytechnic, for example, and say, okay, these are the expected outcomes of a program. You must be able to demonstrate, whether you go to technical college. If you go to technical college, you go and do plumbing, for example. You must go to the field. You must go to a work environment and be able to demonstrate that competence before you get the NSQ. That is the National Skills Qualification. And it has all, the MBT has worked out all the equivalence levels 1 to 9. Level 1 up to 9. 9 is up to PhD. This is what other countries have done. You go to UK, they've done it for decades. Germany, for decades. Even Ghana here now, they have changed their polytechnic. They call them, is it Polytechnic Institute or something? They're offering degrees. South Africa has been doing it for how many years? 20 years now. We cannot continue to be doing the same thing over and over again and think that we'll get a different outcome. That is the classic definition of madness.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Wow, that's deep. We are going to, you mentioned Koren. So before we lose touch of that, let me bring you back to Koren, where you served as vice president of Koren. Can you tell us about your sojourn also in Koren?
Thank you very much. It was very, very interesting. An eye-opener and a bit of a challenge, but I think we were able to achieve modest progress. When I say we, I am talking about the Tibet sector, because I was, by the time I went into Koren and I was elected as vice president, I was already the executive secretary of the National Board for Technical Education. One of the landmark achievements, which I'm so happy that it still subsists, I think we entered into this agreement sometime in 2006, 2007, was that, you see, the problem that institutions, particularly polytechnics, had was that the National Board for Technical Education was doing accreditation, program accreditation. The professional bodies, each and everyone, including Koren, the regulatory body, also was doing accreditation. So the heads of the institution, the directors, were actually spending, they were just like heads of institutions entertaining accreditation visits. And Koren was doing it, Carbon were architects, everybody was doing it. So at least since the majority of our science and tech courses are engineering, I leveraged my presence as the vice president to ensure that we had an MOU between the National Board for Technical Education and the Council for Regulation of Engineering in such a way that there would be a combined single visit, and once that combined team approves the program, then it enjoyed concurrent recognition by MBTE and by Koren. That is something that I feel quite happy, I'm quite proud of, which unfortunately the universities have not been able to achieve as we speak. NUC has not been able to do that.
You left Koren after serving for vice president for 3 years. You've mentioned the challenges we have, talking about about your sojourn at MBTE, and you've made some proposal on how we should, solve the problem by ensuring that our polytechnics adopt the same model that you have in other countries by awarding, being degree awarding polytechnics. If you had the opportunity of being the president of Koren, would you have implemented that?
Well, I'm not sure if the president of Koren has power to do that, because it goes beyond that. You have to change the law, because the law needs to be a little bit modified. I think the colleges of education, as we speak now, they have a window of opportunity to be able to do that. In any event, they have closer and tighter relationship with the faculties of education in the universities. But certainly I would have pursued and I would have encouraged it. Incidentally, I actually contested for the presidency under pressure because I felt that
you said under pressure?
Yes. Because look, Ben, I was already a chief executive. I was already the executive secretary of MBTE. But my colleagues, within the council, some of my colleagues within the council said that I should, I should contest. I protested, but it's a very long story. The information I want to say, I contested and I lost by a single vote. so that's I contended with engineer Habugumel.
Wow, interesting. Yes. I think current presidency election is becoming synonymous with one vote victory. I remember also that Ike Inua also emerged as the president of Korean with one vote.
One vote, okay. Well, it goes to show you the interest. It goes to show you the interest.
Yes. Okay, now let's leave Korean. You also a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, and you have also been vice president of the Nigerian Society of Mining Engineers. You've been in so many places, so contributing positively to the development of the country. Can you also give us some insight in your membership of the Nigerian Institute of Management? What took you to the Nigerian Institute of Management?
Well, to be honest, you know, a lot of our graduates because the polytechnics are allowed to still allowed to do management and all that. So the polytechnic sector is a very critical sector for the Institute of Management. I was invited, you know, into the fellowship. I was sponsored. I was elected, and then they reconstituted the council actually, and I was also nominated to serve on the council of the Nigerian Institute of Management. I remember there was someone who subsequently became, I think he was at that time even deputy governor, the gentleman that subsequently became the chief of staff to President Jonathan from Edo, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
Ogiadome. Yeah, so we were on the council together. So that is how it happened. And I believe that even though I was there for a very short period of time, but we were able to really expand, because you see a lot of these professional bodies, given their history and the way they are established, they tend to be closed, a very closed system with very few members, and you need them really national. And I'm glad, our presence in the Council of the Institute of Management, I think, provided them that opportunity, because a lot of people don't know a lot of other people. I will tell you a story, because this is really part of the lessons. If you don't know somebody, you don't just open your mouth and talk. And some people, there was somebody who was on council, and there was a very elderly gentleman who was in council. Now, this relatively young person, blessed memory is late now, was a lawyer. He had even been the Attorney General of his state. So during discussion in council, this elderly lawyer, now when this relatively younger lawyer was referring to him, he said, "My learned friend." The elderly gentleman said, "No. You can't. You are not learned. You are only learned if you are a lawyer." He didn't know that this gentleman had already even served more than a decade earlier as the Attorney General of his own state. When he now mentioned this to him, the man was so remorseful. I mean, this was the kind of situation that we found in council. People were ignorant, They didn't know about other people from other parts of the country, you know, and they assumed those people really didn't have the qualifications or the experience to be there. So that is, for me, that was what we were able to take into consideration. And I can see today that the Nigerian Institute of Management is so national, it's spread all over the place, and I think they're better off for it.
All right, let's go now to your most recent appointment. Immediately after you left MBTE in 2010, you were also appointed as a national commissioner, INEC. And you were at the, let me say, you were instrumental, very visible in the conduct of the 2015 election, which till today is being adjudged as one of the best elections that have been conducted in the history of Nigeria. Can you take us through your time in INEC?
Sure.
And also share some of the experiences you had in preparation to that election and other things we need to know about.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Your time at INEC.
Then I must tell you that honestly, you know, ordinarily engineers will think, what is an engineer doing in INEC? But I am telling you from my own personal experience, over the 5 years I served as National Commissioner in INEC, INEC must have an engineer, at least one engineer in the commission. Because, and I will tell you why. I will also tell you very quickly, my appointment to INEC followed almost the same pattern as my appointment as Executive Secretary MBTA. I received a phone call. Somebody was asking for my CV. I did. That was on a Friday afternoon. Sunday, they announced our names. Now, when something like this, Ben, happens to you, why will you not put 110% of your best? This is what makes the difference. When you appoint people who go and lobby, and they go and do all these fake, rank day, you know, it doesn't work. This is part of our problem. It doesn't work. So that is how, for me, I had done, I mean, you know, 10 years in MBT, too long, to be honest, but I had done my own. I was prepared to go for my sabbatical, go back to Kaduna Polytechnic or some other academic institution and just continue with my research and training of younger academics. And then this thing came barely 3 months after I finished MBT. A big challenge. We all know that the 2007 election, even the president, late President Eradua, the beneficiary really of that election, admitted that it was very faulty. Promised that he would do something, and he did to a very large extent, because as a result of that promise, he established the Justice Ways committee that reviewed the entire activities of INEC. They accepted not all, but perhaps more than 70% of the recommendations. And so this is the background of our going. And we are also extremely lucky because the chairman was Professor Atairu Jega. We all know him. We know his antecedents. So it is that kind of caliber of people that were put together in INEC. And our first major hurdle at the time was the register of voters. The register of voters was in complete shambles. As you recall, there were names of one of these boxers and so on. You know, you had them. Is it Mike
Muhammad
Tyson?
Ali.
Yeah,
like that.
on the register and all that. So the first task was to build a credible register of voters. If you don't have, because that is the baseline. You must establish a baseline. And that was what we did at great cost. And within incredibly short period of time, I don't think there is a record of any country doing biometric registration of voters, capturing data of up to 70 million plus within a period of a month or two. That was what we were able to achieve. Of course, with great challenge, but you kept cleaning up the register, and then that now enabled us to do the permanent voters card with a chip embedded in it, containing the data of the registers, and also to be able to now use the card reader to read the details of voters, to continue to increase the capacity, because previously, I mean, we had all kinds of stories about how results were being announced and so on. And so the whole principle was to incrementally improve the processes. I was very also lucky, to be honest, maybe because I was the lone engineer, but there was also an architect who was a military background, excellent. He handled the logistics aspect, and I did the operations. I was chairman of the operations committee of the commission for the entire period we were there, between 2010 to 2015. Conducted two general elections, 2011 and 2015. So you can imagine it was a very, very hectic period. But I'm so glad that my engineering background really was extremely useful. And I think credit to the chairman Atahiru Jega. He was himself tech savvy, really, and we were all resolved to do the very best that we could, and that was why we're able to record the improvement. So it is the persons, the people, and the way you appoint people. If you go and appoint people who lobby for positions, I'm telling you, there will be a problem. That's why we have problem all over the place. So it is both the people who are looking for the job and those who are appointing them.
Before I ask you the next question, which is in line with what you are saying, I must say this, I must commend you also, because I met an engineer who works with INEC. You know the person. Recently, he's still a staff of INEC, in just one evening in H Medics in Abuja. And we are discussing about INEC. He just told me that I should forget INEC, that since you left INEC, that the engineers have lost their place in the scheme of things in INEC. He was really lamenting. He said he wished another NURU will come back to INEC to restore the pride of engineers. Now, when you were in INEC, how were you able to cope with political interferences? Because I know that when the card reader was about to be introduced, there were a lot of resistance.
Yes.
A lot of resistance and oppositions to it.
Yes.
How were you able to maneuver?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Evan. Another very, very important question. Yes, and I think this is, first, I must warn my colleagues, engineers. We tend to not pay attention to the politics, to the softer issues about our job. We tend to feel that once the thing is technically okay, then people should just see it that, look, this is okay and accept. No. In politics, or if you're in INEC, it doesn't work like that at all. And I will tell you another example, then I will come back to this issue of the card reader. As chairman of operations, I was the one anchoring for INEC. We wanted to introduce new polling units because we did a bit of, we're technical people. We did a bit of computation and came to the conclusion that the maximum number you could expect to have reasonably for people to vote according to the procedure that we came up with was 500. We had about 75 million on the register. If you divide that by 500, I think it will come to about 130 something thousand. We had 126 or so thousand polling units. So we needed to add something like 30,000 polling units. Since, to me, as a technical person, that the basis was to have not more than 500 voters per polling unit. So we simply took the number of voters registered state by state, and that gave us generally, approximately, the number of polling units by state. So if you take the number of polling units that a state should have based on its registered voters, you deduct that away from the existing, naturally that gives you the additional polling unit in that state. We did that. And to be honest, to me, it was simple, straightforward, technical issue. I didn't know that in the old days, the big one, the OGAS, the big ones, having a polling unit under your control was synonymous to give you votes. We looked at it as a purely technical issue. This thing went through all to the commission, it was approved. After we released the distribution, that's when all hell broke loose. This one is, to use I can quote to someone, I will mention his name, quote unquote, they said this is advanced rigging. So that is that. With hindsight, perhaps we should have approached it slightly better. And it was also very close to the election. So the stakes were very, very high. We had also introduced the card reader, because what the card reader did, at least the card reader, what it did was to increase the credibility of the accreditation process. First, if you are not accredited, you cannot vote. Unlike in the old days where there was no accreditation, there was a lot of all kinds of actions that really used to take place that made the elections not very, very credible. Now, with the card reader, I must admit, to the best of my knowledge, we had the full support of government. All the funds, procurements, everything was made available. Until, I don't know what happened, when they now somehow came to realization that the full implication of using the card readers, that if you have the card reader with the procedure that we came and put it in place, there was very little chance for rigging. And that was when the wahala started. They tried to pull it down, all manner of, you will be shocked, the kind of people who are involved in pulling down the use of the card reader. We stuck to our guns, and I think, as you have said, at the end of the day, I think we're able to deliver and internationally, acknowledged, nationally and internationally acknowledged, reasonably credible election. Because in election, what is really very, very important, the minimum standard is that the will of the voters must prevail. And it must be seen to prevail. Not only it prevails, but it must be seen to prevail. And I think that's what we were able to do in 2015.
Now, from card reader, we have advanced to beavers.
Yes.
And then many Nigerians are also calling that there should be another advancement beyond using beavers for accreditation, that there should be an introduction of electronic voting, just as you have in other countries. Do you see that as a viable solution to election problems we face in Nigeria?
Yes. Well, it's I think the answer has to be yes, but you see, where you have in our own case a situation where people, no matter what innovation you bring, there is a section, and this cuts across all the entire spectrum of the political parties. There's a section that feels that they must take undue advantage. It makes the job of the umpire more difficult. Because if you introduce, let's say, electronic voting, 100%, you now know that there are, issues of hacking, of so many other issues. But we have seen, even during our time, we've been to climes, to environments where electronic voting takes place. But the contest, to be honest, because political power, the problem here in Nigeria, political power is too sweet. Yes.
How sweet is it, sir?
No, because you see, Ben, to be honest, there is a lot of impunity that you get away with if you are an executive. You are even protected by law. Let me tell you again, one of the things that can reduce this sweetness or make it more equitable. With the kind of system we're operating now is what is called first past the post. It's like a race, 100-meter dash. The one that crosses that line, the string, the one that crosses the line is the winner, and he takes all. That is part of the problem. Winner takes all. The professional way they call it first past the post. But there is also proportional representation. And my own, honestly, view, based on my experience, we can have the two. And I think we'll be the better for it. First, I see no reason why the legislature cannot go entirely to proportional representation. Not first past the post. Because you have a combination of presidential election, which is winner takes all, and then even at the parliamentary level. And let me tell you, for example, now, any party that wins at the presidential level, you will find that it has undue advantage in terms of number of seats in the parliament. If you introduce proportional representation, first of all, minority parties will be represented because if they have won certain minimum, let's say in many countries, if you win more than 5%, you must have a seat in the sharing. It is shared according to the votes. So it is more encompassing and it is more representative. That is what needs to happen first, incrementally but steadily improving. For the executive, obviously it's going to be very difficult. You can't do proportional representation. But if you do it at the parliamentary level, even if it is presidential, you will be able to reduce that extreme executive power that you have under the presidential system. So now you talked about VBAS. It's a wonderful technology, bimodal, because the problem we had with the card reader, it was based on your thumbprint. And okay, it's a very long story, but the success rate, you know, I mean, somebody who is a farmer, he goes to the farm, the fingerprint is difficult. So there was challenge in getting the success rate for the card reader was not really acceptable, because you needed to have a success rate of 90-something percent, 99%, before really you can have a credible accreditation system. Now that wasn't happening. Now they introduced bimodal, which can also brings in other features, facial and all that recognition. But if the people are determined to bypass, they will do it. Now, where you have, you know, if there is collusion from top to bottom, for example, you know, I mean, right from the polling unit up to, you know, up to the highest at the state level, then what can you do? So we also are part of the problem. And really, in a democracy, what you really want is that election to be able to reflect the will of the people. That's the only way you can have peace. If you to use what our politicians like to say, if you steal somebody's mandate, there is problem. The people know who they have voted, but if you go and declare somebody who has not voted, there is problem. And it can lead to all kinds of, and then this has a cumulative effect. So yes, the answer is that yes, we can introduce more technology, but I don't think it can happen overnight. Even the countries that have introduced electronic voting, for example, I think there's a time we visited Mexico at the time that they had a good system. I think they spent more than a decade introducing it gradually, before they finally went electronic. But Ben, let me tell you of some interest. Do you know that the French system of voting is among the most manual? It is among the most manual. All they do is to project the count, the percentage of results counted electronically. But the actual process, it's incredible. It's so manual. But the culture, the national culture, is that they're in love with that process of manual. And they don't, and of course, over a long period of time, you know, there are bodies that will predict an outcome, and even after the Supreme Court has verified, because that is required, the French Supreme Court, after they verify the election, you find that those projections barely, you know, are wrong. So it takes two to tango. INEC will do its own, but as I said, the process of appointing electoral managers must be devoid of all this intense lobbying and all that. If you go and put people who beholden to you, in the commission, and you expect them to do the right thing, I'm sorry, this will not happen. It can't happen.
Since you left INEC in 2015, what do you do now?
Well, first, I promised myself that for 5 years, I will just enter a submarine and disappear. And I pretty much did that because I really was really exhausted. To be honest, it's not easy to be at the helm of not the commission, but at least in charge of the operations, because as chairman of the operations, at the time of INEC, every single election that INEC conducted, the arrangements started from my desk. But what is, and I must confess today also that throughout my stay in INEC for between 2010 to 2015, not a single politician has ever called me to alter results for them. I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they knew I wouldn't. There were all kinds of accusations. I have met top leaders of political parties. There was a friend of mine, I won't mention his name. Each time we met, he said that each time we go to our caucus meeting, your name is mentioned that you are in support of the other party. And I told them that, well, since I left Kaduna, all my friends in Kaduna, when they talk about INEC, they say I belong to the party opposite to your own. So, and I concluded that whatever it was I was doing must be the right thing. So now I am retired fully. I do a bit of consultancy in technical and vocational education. I also serve on various ad hoc committees. The latest, as you're probably aware, the Honorable Minister, again, I don't know how it happened. They dusted me off and brought me to chair the roadmap committee for the education sector in the country. A very challenging but worthwhile assignment, and in particular because I saw that both at the leadership in the ministry and at the federal, at the presidential level, there is total commitment really now and total realization that skills development, technical vocational education at the level that I mentioned, where I believe there is crisis, craftspersons, and even to the level of technicians, I think I perceive that there is seriousness to tackle this thing headlong. One of the most recent assignment that we've done is an advisory committee for TED Fund, because the TED Fund now is also intervening in skills development. And what the MBT is doing, which I think should be encouraged very seriously and a much higher level, is to ensure that our polytechnics have relationships with the informal sector. Because the informal sector, Ben, as you know, provides employment for more than 90% of our youth. So if you really want to have economic impact on the greater majority of our population, is to do something about the informal sector. Formalize it. The informal sector is created to be responsible for between 50 to 60% or slightly higher of our gross domestic product, GDP. There is a lot that can be done to make it efficient with very little. Now, There is also, as you know, as engineers, we know, there is something that is called recognition of prior learning. You and I know that there are tons of our youths, let's say in Computer Village, under the flyover, in Panteka Market, in Kofa Market in Kano, in Aba, who are doing fantastic things. They have the skills, but they are not certificated, they are not recognized. So what is happening now is the principle of recognition of prior learning. People can go and assess what you have acquired, regardless whether the people who invented computers and Microsoft, and how did they start? They started in garage. They are now the ones that control the global economy. So if somebody, maybe your old man has a garage, you go and open, you are doing computer repair and so on. That skill, whether you acquired it, however, it should be recognized and be certificated. And you can now be given a pathway to move up. This is how to pull up the informal sector and make the economy more efficient and reduce, more importantly, youth unemployment. You have to do this to get us out of this quagmire that we are in.
Okay, as we wrap it up, let me ask you, what is the next move?
For me?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think to continue what I'm doing, I despite the retirement, Ben, you will be surprised, I am very, very busy. I don't make a lot of money. I am a man of very modest needs. I've always been. Although it's becoming tougher these days, but I think so long, and I have a bit of consultancy on Tibet. I have a company that I registered. So now we have tested it, and we are doing a lot of. It's called TVE Consultants. It's a limited liability
Any
company.
plan to join politics?
No. No.
Now, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
If, for instance, looking at your experience and your record in INEC,
yes,
in other sectors, if the government decides to appoint you as the chairman of INEC, will you answer the call?
What I will simply say, to be honest, I think given the look, I told you I'm 67 years old. For me, I have never had to do things halfway. Like we say, maybe I would try, it's a Hausa saying, I would try and say it in English. It's so funny that you cannot do a 100-meter dash while you are scratching your backyard. Either you will not win that race or you will not enjoy the backyard scratching. I like to get into an assignment and give it my whole. I think this has been the key chairmanship of INEC. If anybody floats that idea, I would respectfully decline. I think you should bring in probably people younger, more energetic, and there are, to be honest. But like I said, the process of appointment, when you appoint people who lobby all over the place, then there is big problem. You have to have a mechanism to identify people. Look, the story we had, for example, when Jega was appointed chairman of INEC, the president had never met him in his life. President Jonathan. I'd never met him in his. Is that kind of standard that we are looking for? Not somebody that you have met somewhere in the evening or through some other people and so on. You really, if you really want, and there are Nigerians who can fix this country, but we must resolve. You cannot. I mean, what you say must be what is in your heart. If your mouth says something, your heart is 180 degrees opposite, there's problem. There's problem. And I think this, what I refer to, I don't know whether it is sweet or bitter, or I don't know, but something needs to be done. Something honestly needs to be done to make people more to go into politics with higher ideals rather than just power thing. There must be a reason. There must be a basis, and that basis cannot be just for raw power or for accumulation of material things.
Okay. On a final note, have you written any book about your life?
No, I haven't, to be honest. I haven't.
And if you have to write one, can you share with us what do you think the title of that book should be or will be?
So many people have mentioned these things. If I were to write, there are two things in my head now, to be honest. The one that I would prefer to do, which is comprehensive, would be something like from an academic regulator to an electoral regulator. 15 years of public service experience, something like that. But having been at the helm of affairs as the chairman of the operations committee in INEC for 5 years, really, I would also, that would be easier, and I would just title it something like Quinquennium of Electoral Operations.
Can you come again, sir?
I will title it as Quinquennium of Electoral Operations. Quinquennium.
That's interesting.
5 years. 5 years of electoral operations.
Wow.
Quinquennium of electoral operations.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, we really be praying that that comes to pass, because it will definitely add a lot to improving the electoral system in the country. Engineer NURU YAKUBU, we want to thank you so much for being our guest today. We are still inside there. We are still on the hot seat. This time we are going to be moving to the next segment, that is the corner kick segment, where we will now open we will now allow the participants to also participate in this program and ask you questions. Okay. So we are going to now, we'll go this way. Once you have a question, you click on the reaction button and then click on raise hand. We will unmute you to ask questions. I think I have seen the first hand, Engineer Yopela Beredugo. Go on, sir.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to ask the first question. And I was very interested in a candidate's tenure as Executive Secretary of NBTE and the clamor for NBTE graduates, Polytechnic graduates to be equated with university graduates. I have had the unique opportunity of teaching in a polytechnic and teaching in the universities. And one thing I notice is the polytechnics are already giving an inferior status to begin with. Because while you need 5 credits to enter the university, you need only 4 credits to enter the polytechnics. So what does he think about that? That if the polytechnics are to award university degrees, will they continue to accept 4 credits and expect that at the end of it, they will be given the same opportunities as those who go to the universities? Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. I think we'll take the second question, and then if there are other questions, we... Humphrey Okereke, can you unmute? Can you unmute? Engineer Okereke, can you unmute your mic so that you can ask your question? Okay, go on.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay, good evening, everybody, and thank you very much, sir, for the brilliant presentation. You basically deeply treated the 2 topics eventually that you taught. I want to just ask a question on the second one, which has to do with the political future and the political destiny of our country. I want to ask simply, sir, do you think that Nigeria will begin to work in a way that it should for the benefit of all in our lifetime? And if you think so, what do you think is going to be the magic wand that will make it start working? Because obviously we are not working now. Thank you, sir.
We take the third one so that you can respond to all of them together. Oluchi Okoli, go on.
Good evening, my moderator. Good evening, distinguished engineers and fellows. My question is, sir, you told us the time is spent with the current. My question is, if you were to be given opportunity now to serve as the president of current, what would you have done differently for the engineering family, for the engineering profession as a whole? Thank you very much.
All right. Sir, you can respond to these ones, then we can take the next batch.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Moderator, Engineer Ben. I think the first question was from Opela Beredugo, that he says that the polytechnics have given themselves an inferior status. Sir, Opela, as you see me like this, when I was in MBTE, I also concurrently served as the National Project Coordinator of UNESCO Nigeria Project on Revitalization of Technical and Vocational Education. And we reviewed nearly 100 curricula of the programs offered by polytechnics. This was way back in, I'm talking about, this project started, lasted between 2000 and 2010. By 2004-05, we had harmonized all the entry requirements in all the ND programs into polytechnics, same as universities' 5 credits. I am surprised because really, this is something that ought to have been known. There is absolutely no distinction now between the requirements in terms of 5 credits for programs into ND1 in polytechnics, in any polytechnic in this country. Now, I don't know how you got this, but this has been solved by MBTE since 2004-05. It's been harmonized. Precisely as I said, I told you that I had the benefit of working in the university. I rose through the ranks from assistant lecturer up to senior lecturer. When I left the university in 1990, I was already a senior lecturer before I went to Kaduna Polytechnic. So I know what I'm talking about in this. Now, in fact, during that curriculum review, we even went further, because unlike what the universities do, in the curriculum of programs in polytechnics, we actually specified the minimum and the type. For example, if you want to go and study engineering, you can't go and say you've done, history, for example, will not be accepted. At least at that time, the 5 credits in the universities, you could sneak into a technical program or a science program in the universities with history or something. And I'm not saying that history is not important. Though. In fact, it is probably even more important. Because if you don't know your history, then there is problem. So what I'm getting, and I can tell you experience that I tried to get somebody into Kaduna Polytechnic, had not met the combination of the subjects, they could not gain admission. That same person was admitted to a degree program in Bayero University, Kano. He couldn't get into Kaduna Polytechnic to read ND, but had met the requirements for admission into Bayero University. And Bayero University is clearly, one of our good universities. So this problem has been solved. It's something that we solved more than 2 decades ago. But unfortunately, our university colleagues still have this thing. I have discussed, even when I was in INEC, I had intensive arguments with professors. They say, but you in the Polytechnic, you take for credit. I said, no, sir. We don't. The problem has been solved more than 20 years ago. The second question from Engineer Humphrey Okereke, the political future. Engineer, we're all engineers. I don't have that magic crystal ball to gaze. But what I do know, honestly, is that we cannot continue the way things are and expect, like I said, you can't continue to be doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. It's classic definition of madness. So something really needs to happen. And I hope we can do it. Something will happen peacefully, quietly, and gradually. Our leaders, our political leaders, will come to to the realization that for the country to continue and for us to join in the rest of world, even within the West African within the African sub-region. So many things. Now we know, everybody, the truth of the matter is that even international organizations, NGOs, and so on, they don't want to touch Nigeria with 1 mile wooden spoon. They rather go to places like Ghana. We know it. So why? Why? They're not perfect. But so I think we need a soul searching. But you see, it's not impossible, because I would say honestly, within the last during this political thing, things got so bad. We almost had a president who unfortunately didn't last long. That probably, if he had lasted, the politics might be different now. So it's not impossible. It can still happen, and in any event, I believe we must keep hope alive and pray that our leaders will really see that the way things are going now, we just have to stop it. We just have to pause, rethink, and recalibrate. Honestly, there's need to recalibrate. And I think that the lady, is it Oluchi, Mary?
Yes.
Well, Madam, the question, I'm sorry to say, is how, what is it? It's pardon me, I'm looking for a better word, but I think it is speculative. Because if I were to be the president, I have no desire to be the president of Koren. Would I do something different? But if I were to have an influence, or whether through whatever, really one of the things that I think should be done is really to do something about the entire structure of the profession. Like I said, I was sitting by a friend, a very senior person who served on the council. When I was telling him that what I discovered when I did this analysis of the number of engineers, and then I took the ILO ratio and the situation where we are, and he was saying that, well, if we're not careful, they will not be calling us engineers as the craft persons, because we've taken the position. There should be many, many more. Like I said, there is already a shortfall of virtually 2 million. But we must pause, reflect, and do something. And I'm glad that there are lots of discussions happening, but we must be able to really take the plunge and do something. You can't continue to say, okay, yes, this is what we have. You lament, but what are you doing about it? We have to do something about it. You have to make these people, you have to make them feel that they are needed. It's not to even make them feel, but they are actually needed by the, in the economy. Without them, and honestly, with my decades of experience, I think the informal sector is it. That is what we need to do. This issue of recognition of prior learning, I know, I can tell you as a rector and a former ES, somebody who does national diploma in a polytechnic probably doesn't have the same skills as someone who works in the computer village, because he has the opportunity to tear the machine down and get components and construct. Now, that ability, all we are saying, should be recognized and should be awarded. So if they want to now move up the ladder to go up to the equivalent of degree, why not? Why not? And the economy will be the better for it. Thank you.
Okay, so Engineer Sani Lawa, we are going to give you just 20 seconds to ask your question so that we can close it for today.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Go on, we can hear you.
Yes. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this presentation to my mentor, my senior. I don't want to say my colleague, because I think I'm working with Kaduna Polytechnic presently, and I remember when Dr. NURU YAKUBU was director of engineering, that was when I get employed through his own different strategy he brought at the College of Engineering. Now, quickly, what I want to stress is the issue of MBQF. Actually, I remember when he started it, when he was at MBTE, And then 2013, I was opportune to be part of people that were drafted in Lagos to drop some of the NOS. They call it NOS. That is just like what you call the curriculum. So actually, I want to call on Dr. NURU on that aspect. Please let's create more avenues in different states. I'm now taking from England. Here I'm doing my PhD. So I noticed most of the higher educations, you find that these people are not concerned with. What they're after is this little skills. And you find that these little skills attract more talent than even the paper certification. So please, I want to encourage, as he mentioned about the issue of this MBQM, actually I want
20 seconds is over.
To encourage the government on that skills aspect is very, very important. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
I think that is more of a contribution.
No, but I want to comment on that, to be honest.
Oh, okay, sir.
He has touched on something that I wanted to share again on this platform. You had asked me one of the things that we're able to do at the College of Engineering in Kaduna Polytechnic. Now, let me share something very, very quickly. I don't know whether he was among the beneficiaries. When I was director of College of Engineering, we had problem of retaining academic staff who went, especially those who went and did PhD.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm one of them.
Okay, very good. So we now found that yes. So whenever they went and they were sponsored to do the PhD, they came back. They felt they had overgrown the polytechnic system. So we said, I sat down, cracked my brain, came up with a scheme, and I went to the director at the time, and he supported me 100%. I said, okay, we had, each university had what they call catchment area. At that time, it was 17 states. So the strategy we did was to say, we take anybody, regardless, we don't even know who it is, from each of the 17 catchment area states with the highest CGPA at ND level. And we recruited them. We offered them employment. Do you understand me? National diploma from any of the 17. And I know this program ran for at least 3 years. So we have 55. I mean, over 50. You know what? We still caught them young. And I don't know, Lawal, are you a beneficiary?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can testify to that.
Yeah. Now, some of your colleagues, Ben, are you listening to this? This is very, very important.
I can get you, sir.
As we speak today, those that we offered employment as after their ND in Kaduna Polytechnic when I was director, at least I know 2 of them are now professors of engineering, one in APU, another one in BUK. So when I tell you that people who do the ND can easily go and take up the BTech in a polytechnic, it is not out of the blues. It is based on actual fact. These people are there. Majority of them, we actually caught them young because, like you can see, like Sani Lawal, he's still with the polytechnic, even though he's doing his PhD. So Nigeria can be fixed. All you need to do, remove all these nepotistic and selfish things. The beneficiary of this program, not a single one of them that I know personally. Not one of them. But they merited it. And that is what is important. And merit is not an exclusive right of anybody or any part of this country. There is nothing, my own personal reason is that merit and this quota thing, whatever people like to think about quota, they're not incompatible. We did it, 17 states. You take the best from the state, sponsor them, and they are now professors. There was even there's somebody who even served as a rector from among them. Assistant technician. Nigeria can be fixed, gentlemen and ladies.
Wow. Wow. That's a very good one. Nigeria, a good pattern shot. Nigeria can be fixed. Well, it's been a wonderful time with you, Engineer Dr. Muhammad NURU YAKUBU, FNSE, FAEng, and OON. You have also recently been honored by the Federal University of Oyekiti.
Yes.
You were given a doctorate degree in management and so many honors here and there. I know even the hours we've spent cannot even be enough. If we have to spend more hours, it will not be enough to really, go around all the areas we want to touch about your life. We want to say a very big thank you to you for being our guest. It was a tough time getting you to be inside the arena, but we thank God you finally made it. And I must say a very big kudos to Engineer A.A. Rabiu, FNSE, for the great role he played. And also, we are now going to the extra time. We are going to do that in a few minutes. We have two big gifts. This is one of them. This is a fan. And then we have another one that is, hey, this is heavy. This is an oven. That is microwave oven. So we have two questions, and the first question will be answered. If you are the lucky winner, then you will not be eligible to compete in the second stage of the question. So the first winner, the first person to get the correct answer will win the microwave. Then we will ask the second question, and then the winner will win the fan. And we want to once again thank Engineer A.A. Rabiu, Immediate Past President of Koren, and Engineer Bemigo, Vice President, Nigerian Site of Engineers. Two of them are the sponsors of this gift. Now, the first question. And once you send in the answer before I say go, you'll be disqualified. Name the state where Engineer YAKUBU had his secondary education. Go. Okay, the answers are coming in. So I hope you can see the answers from the chat. I believe we must have had a winner. First, your secondary education was had in which state, sir? I think I've seen the correct answer.
You're asking me?
Yes, sir. Secondary education, which state?
Borno.
Borno State. Now let's go to the answer. The answer sent from my own end, I can see many were giving Yobe, Bauchi,
Bauchi. I did it in Maiduguri, Borno State.
Borno State. I see this one is not acceptable. The person that we have said it here without number, if you are participating in this program, you must log in with your name. If you log in with the name of appliance, you are not going to. So I'm seeing Samsung SM3. That is nobody as far as we are concerned. The next person that I can see Bonu is Abba Kalawa. That is Borno State. So from here, I'm seeing Abba Kalawa. If that is what you can see from your own end, if you confirm, sir, we will. Abba Kalawa.
Okay. Am I seeing it? I think even if someone says Maiduguri, I think it is quite in order because
No, he says the question is state.
Oh, state.
town.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
The
Yes,
question is state.
Borno State.
Yes. So we have, from my own end, I have to confirm again to know whether I missed out anybody. I see Nguru Yobe, I see Yobe, Bauchi, Medugri, and I see the first person I can see confirm is Abakalawa. Abakalawa, please, can you show us your face, please? Please, anytime you are participating in this program, as much as you can, we have said it before, try as much as you can to log in with your name. Don't log in with just a device name. Abaka, congratulations, you have won a microwave. I think I can see you. Abaka.
Yes, sir.
The second question is, in what year was he appointed as a commissioner of INEC? Go. Okay. So I think the answers have, what is the correct answer, sir?
2010.
2010. From my own end, number one I can see is Ayuba Anza Usman, 2010. I want you to confirm, sir, if that is what you have from your own end. Ayuba Anza Usman, FNSE, 2010.
Okay, let me just see. Engineer Ayuba Anza Usman, FNSE, yes.
Yes, sir.
513, that's correct.
Ayuba, can you unmute? Okay. I know the face. Congratulations to both of you. You and the Lawal, you have won for yourselves 2 beautiful gifts, courtesy of Engineer A.A. Rabiu and Engineer Bemigo. Thank you so much for I think I saw Engineer Rabiu, the sponsors. I think they should say hi to us. Is he still here? Bemigo. Okay, Engineer Bemigo, please, can you? Engineer Bemigo, can you show us your face, please? I think Engineer Rabiu is no longer. Engineer Bemigo, can we see your face? Unmute your mic, please. Maybe. Okay. Engineer Bemigo, are you here? Okay. All right. We say a very big thank you to him. And we want to sincerely thank all our participants for participating in this edition of Inside the Arena. Watch out for the next edition next month. By God's willing, it's going to be a great one. And once again, to the winners, we say congratulations to you. And we say a very big thank you and congratulations to our guest, Engineer Dr. Muhammad NURU YAKUBU, for having you inside the arena today. I still remain your host, Engineer Ben O.C. Oko, and it's my pleasure to officially sign out. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you.